Hello everypony, Flash Ocean back with another reaction video, and I don't actually got too much to say this week. I do know the episode title and what it's basically about. I mean, it's kind of revealed in the episode title. The episode title is, hang on a second, A Rockhoof and a Hard Place. Obviously a play on the phrase, a rock and a hard place, but, I mean, Rockhoof, we already know who he is. So, obviously this episode is going to be about him. And, yeah, that's really cool. I mean, another pillar, another episode, that's good. I really like it. I have seen thumbnails of Rockhoof and Yona together, which, I mean, that's obviously interesting. They're both very physically strong characters. I do wonder if this means that the students will be going on some kind of field trip, or will Rockhoof be coming to the school? I don't know. It should be interesting either way. But yeah, I haven't been spoiled on anything. I don't know who the writer is or anything like that. I usually don't. This doesn't seem to be an episode too many people have really been hyping up. Like, there haven't been a lot of spoilery clips about it. I mean, with everything for the finale, I suppose it's understandable why they wouldn't, but whatever. But yeah, speaking of, I mean, we are kind of closing in on the finale now. This is episode 21. There's only a few episodes left. So who knows? Maybe this will be setting up more for the finale, or maybe not. I don't know. But the only way to find out what it's actually about is to watch the episode. So let's watch the episode, and we'll start the episode in 3, 2, 1, play. And starting out on the excavation of Rockhoof's old village, which obviously has seen a resurgence probably, since Rockhoof himself is there.
You're going to have to work faster than that if you plan to dig up my whole village, lass. Let me help.
Thank you, Rockhoof, but we're trying to...
His accent sounded...
every bit of history here.
Rockhoof sounds a bit different, a bit,
This place is full of memories.
Okay, now it's better. Now it's more like it.
Did I tell you about the time our chieftain knocked down 5 boulders with the kick of a weighted ball?
Stop that!
Ow.
But that's what this is for.
Maybe in the past. Now it belongs in a museum. Safe.
That belongs in a museum! Indiana Jones reference.
You'll be saying I shouldn't have used the old sweat lodge.
You did what? Oh, Rockhoof.
You see why Rockhoof isn't an ideal fit for my team. Perhaps you could use his unusual talents?
Of course, Professor Fossil. We'd be honored to have a pillar of Equestria on our staff.
Oh, thanks, Celestia.
I mean, thank Twilight, since she's a princess too.
Oh, that apple's made of wood. What a horrible trick to play.
Got a bit of a temper, does he?
Has any pony seen my decorative centerpieces? They were right here.
Good luck.
Okay, so... yeah. I mean, not too much to say there. It's obvious what the conflict is, where it's probably going to go. Maybe. Actually, I don't really know where it's going to go. Like, he doesn't seem that clumsy, so, which is what Yona's known for. But struggling to fit in because he doesn't really know what to do. Honestly, I think that might be more of a CMC or Spike kind of thing than a Yona thing. We'll see.
So join me in welcoming Professor Rockhoof to our faculty.
Professor, huh? What's he teaching? I mean, obviously they're overjoyed.
Thank you all. I know I'm new to your world, but there's one thing I learned when I saved my village from a rushing river of hot lava. There's nothing you can't do with hard work. And the shovel!
There is a time and a place.
Maybe stand on stage.
Don't mock the teacher. Spike, that's not gonna help.
So, every creature dismissed. We'll see you in class.
The other teachers are just like.
Pony is gonna be the weirdest teacher at school, or just one of the weirdest.
It would be hard to beat Pinkie Pie as the weirdest teacher.
And he smashes things like a yak, smells like a yak.
Ow! Okay, that's mean.
Perfect.
Guys, he's one of the pillars. He's like pony history.
Hello, class!
And it smashes through the wall just like a yak.
I'm your new theory and defensive friendship teacher.
Defensive friendship? What the hell?
But I haven't had a chance to look at Headmare Twilight's notes yet. What have you all been learning?
We just studied all about how Princess Celestia and Luna used a spell to trap Discord in Stone Sleep for hundreds of moons.
Ooh, interesting.
Oh, so it's a class about stories, is it?
Stories, yeah. And we never, ever get homework.
Good. The best way to teach cults and villies is by experience.
That's not.
Like the time I was in
true.
the woods and ran across an Ursa Major.
Ooh!
We're not doing that, right?
You fight Ursa Major? All alone?
Aye.
Trixie?
Defeated her too.
Now this I'm interested in. How Professor Rockhoof win?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
that's quite a tale.
a tall tale, maybe?
From what
Oh, come on!
it sounds like Rockhoof just hasn't settled into modern times yet. Our school is the perfect place for that.
Are you
And
sure?
a new teacher.
This may be the fastest friendship problem you ever solved.
You were saying?
Dodge, thrust, shovel leap, shovel throw. Shovel whack.
Everything a shovel.
Hey, the Ursa Major. Lots of growl in mind.
Well,
Maybe classrooms were less breakable in the old days.
probably.
Oh, what happened next?
The huge beastie jumped out of the moonlit mist. Her fearsome fangs at my throat. But I rolled clear.
Ow.
Then what?
She backed me up against the wall, ready to pounce. I looked at her. She looked at me. And I say,
Professor Rockhoof?
nope, guess again. Oops.
Sorry, princess.
Sorry to interrupt. Class, why don't we go ahead and take lunch early today? Rockhoof, can we take a walk outside? Our school is about...
I like that Applejack's there with him.
And we can already tell you're a smash with the class.
I think I know what his job's gonna be right now. He's gonna be the guardian, which,
Sorry about that. I
mean-
get a bit carried away. The students were so interested in my tale.
I like the little touches here. Like, it's kind of nice. Like, it's very almost subtle that... Jesus, what the hell?
Fire!
Rockhoof, wait!
No time! The building's ablaze! We have to get every pony out!
Professor Rockhoof, best teacher ever. They cannot get better.
Let's get you outside, wee ones!
They just got...
I mean,
Alley-oop!
you don't need to use the shovel for it.
Wolf, what are you doing?
Saving the school!
I mean,
Just like fighting a volcano in the good old days!
not quite, but... I mean, he did put out the...
Pony, kindly explain what is the meaning of all this water.
I'm not sure, but I think it's
Nice, Pinky, but...
Sorry, Rarity, but I had to put out the rage in Inferno.
Inferno? Where?
Did you not see the smoke and flame?
Yeah, that was us. You know, dragons, having a fire-breathing competition.
You set the building on fire!
They do it all the time. That's what we were trying to tell you.
They set the building on fire all the time?
Hero, Rockhoof. Only what we need here is a teacher.
Yeah.
One who doesn't ruin an entire class's friendship quilts. Do you know how hard it is to stitch a pineapple pattern?
No, but I'm guessing hard.
My deepest apologies. I'm not used to living with dragons, or much else in this modern time.
Yeah.
Professor Fossil made it clear I'm not welcome back in my old village. Seems I don't belong here either.
Okay, that was a nice way to break up that tense moment there.
So,
Well done.
Apparently finding Rockhoof a new job is a lot
Oh,
harder than we thought.
Friendship Council
Any
meeting.
pony had any luck?
Has anybody actually tried that we've seen? No, but I get.
I thought you were gonna try him out of the post office.
We did.
Oh yeah, that's probably a bad idea.
Do you know where I can find Cranky Doodle Donkey? I need to deliver his medicine. He has a rash in a very embarrassing place.
Oh my god. Also, just his accent sounded like Shrek a little bit. Donkey!
Ugh, I did not need to hear that.
Yep. Rockhoof's time as a spa masseuse didn't work out either.
Really?
Now, just let me know if this is too much pressure.
I did not know his voice could go that high.
Well, at least Rockhoof's really strong. Maybe we could find him a job carrying heavy stuff.
I tried that already. Sakura needed somebody to help her get supplies, but...
I know you said you only needed a few leaves, but I figured why not bring you the whole thing?
Ah, okay, that's a bad idea. Aw, poor Zakora.
Ooh, how horrid. None of the other pillars seem to be having trouble fitting into the modern world.
Are you sure?
Maybe they can show Rockhoof how they did it. Get him used to living.
Oh, are we gonna get them all back?
Great idea. Rockhoof's old friends would be happy to help, and I bet he'd love to visit them.
Okay, are we gonna see all of them?
Even Canterlot looks different from the old days.
Oh, I'm sure once you see your old pal Flash Magnus, you'll feel.
What's
right.
he up to?
Trot 2, 3, 4.
Oh, is he whipping the guards into shape?
Keep it lively, rookies!
Of course he is.
Visitors on site. Company halt.
Oh, Firebrand is gonna be so happy.
Rockhoof, you old ditch digger, you. Flash Magnus, as I live and breathe. Is this your squadron?
It is now.
After we got out of limbo, I went
I like
looking for
that we see some night guards there too.
Once a soldier, always a soldier.
Princess Celestia was happy to find a new drill sergeant for her guard.
I'm sure it's been lacking since Shining Armor left, or maybe it's been better since then. I don't know.
That big so soon?
Oh, this is nothing. You should see what Mistmane is up to.
Really? What's she up to? Ooh,
You, the royal landscape artist for the Crystal Empire?
I can see why.
Your work is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I've never worked with crystal before, but in my heart, I know I'm where I belong.
You always could find the beauty in things, but there's not much demand for shovel ponies like me nowadays.
Don't give up hope. See Somnambula. She'll help you find...
Please, I love her. Woo! Back in her village.
Samuel's a motivational speaker. Bet they didn't even have those back in your time.
Eh.
Because we didn't need them. Ponies knew what to do with their lives.
Focus.
Did they really? I mean, that's Cutie Mark.
And feel yourself unlock your potential.
So she's basically a yoga instructor?
Imagine everything that troubles you as one big cloud. Now, let it float away. You are relaxed, free to do anything you wish.
He wished he could take a nap.
I don't
Mage Meadow,
doubt it.
your home looks just the same as the old days.
Yeah, I mean, her family kind of kept it up.
I've had to expand my clinic a bit. Many creatures need healing in this modern world. Oh, looks like you could use some too. What's got you heart?
Aww. She's cute.
Thing is, I can't do my old job like Flash, or adapt like Mistmane, or succeed at something new like Somnambula, or go home like you.
Give it time. Even Star Swirl's still learning about friendship.
Yeah. And I bet Stygian took plenty of time to fit in.
Hey, look what I found. Me and My Shadow, the third hit novel by former villain Stygian.
Really?
He's really thriving.
Wow, that's great.
Rockhoof,
Where you going?
I wonder if, well, no, there are no other really former villains, are there? I mean, there's Trixie and Starlight and,
Now this here's a right
Luna,
dash of apples.
but, like,
Instead of solving Rockhoof's problem, we made him feel even worse.
maybe you should go see Troubleshoes.
Real problem here. We haven't given Rockhoof the chance to be who he really is.
A pony with a metal shovel and a heart of gold?
Pretty much.
A hero! What we need to do is find him a job that's as epic as he is.
I guess.
I might know just the thing.
Mount Eris?
I'm honored to serve in the Hippogriff Navy, General Seaspray.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work out.
Prove my worth.
But that's a nice outfit.
Think nothing of it. I know how hard it is to adapt to a new home. After our many years below the waves, land
I like his outfit too.
Strange. Like you didn't fit in, no matter how hard you tried?
As though the world had moved on without us. Never fear, Rockhoof. We shall be as brothers in this bright future above the waves.
Nice.
Why do the hippogriffs need ships if they can turn into sea ponies?
Maybe they just like cruises?
Huh.
General, the fog's too thick to see our way out of the harbor.
Maybe he should spin his...
Swabbies, hold the ship and hold her till the fog passes.
Wait, General. We can navigate the same way my cultic ancestors traveled through the silky mists. We'll look to the stars. There in the northwest sky,
Oh.
the constellation for O'Brien's belt. Steer the ship toward that.
You heard the
Are you sure? Because, I mean, the sea would have changed in thousands of years. Well, not thousands, but 1,000.
Rockhoof did it!
Nope!
But I don't understand. The stars have always steered me true.
No, stars can move slowly over time. They must look different now than over 1,000 years ago.
It was an honor serving with you, Rockhoof. But it seems our paths lie in different directions.
Okay, I mean, come on, one mistake. But you didn't have to listen to him. That was your choice. But,
Hey, mistakes happen. We'll think of something else for
Yeah.
you to do.
Oh, there's no need, lass. You already know what I want to do next.
Really?
throw himself a pity party.
I heard there's a statue spell that sends creatures into stone sleep. I want you to cast it.
What?
On me.
Wow. That's, some pretty deep depression.
No!
Aye.
No!
Aye!
This,
Need me to help you decide something?
no.
Rockhoof wants me to cast a spell to turn him into a statue. The answer is no.
Well, it should be aye.
Why don't you go ask Discord how he liked being a statue?
If Twilight hadn't cast a spell in the first place.
Whoa, I thought you were arguing over ice cream flavors.
The answer is still no. Why would you want to be turned into stone?
Because I'm a relic of a bygone age. I belong in a museum. Safe, reserved, untouched. I don't belong in this time. It's up to you to make that right.
I mean,
There has to be a better way.
Twilight, please understand. I want to be remembered as the hero I was, not the disappointment I've become.
aw.
You're not. Rockhoof, wait! Spike, can you teach my class today?
Of course.
You're not really gonna turn into stone, are you?
No.
Only because it's temporary. As soon as I think of a new solution, we'll wake Rockhoof up. I know he has more to offer the world as a pony than a statue.
Oh, so she's gonna go through with
Did
it.
you hear that Rockhoof caught all the bees in the Everfree Forest and gave them to Zecora as a gift?
That's not what happened.
Rockhoof called down the stars and sunk the whole Hippogriff Navy!
He's definitely weird, but in a fun way. You never know what's gonna happen next with him. Professor Rockhoof, best pony!
No.
Hey, class. Welcome to the Theory and Defense of Friendship.
Another sub? Let me start by telling you that we don't get homework and we only do field trips.
Gallus, Spike knows better than that.
Twilight sent me to tell you she won't be in today because she has to cast a stone sleep spell on Rockhoof.
Like Discord? But why? Rockhoof isn't a bad guy.
Your instructions are to write an essay on heroism and what it means to you.
Oh,
Oh, don't worry. It doesn't have to be a long essay.
On three legs. What will give the wee birds fewer places to decorate?
Wow!
Dragon said you want to turn into stone.
That is a great,
You'll not believe it.
I'm afraid.
great little thing there. Just.
Pony need finish Ursa's major story for class.
It's sweet of you to try to get me to stay, Yona. But I'm afraid old stories like mine aren't worth anything in this day and age.
Of course they are.
If Pony no want tell Yona's story, then Yona tell Pony's
Yes, please, Yona. Yona's story is good.
story. From class report, when Yona come to Pony school, Yona not fit in. Pony ways strange, but Yona find friends. Yona meet Professor Rockhoof. Pony brave and strong as yak. Not afraid. Hero.
Aww.
When Yona grow up, Yona want to be just like Professor Rockhoof.
Aww.
Since you went to the trouble of
Aww.
I suppose the least
That is so adorable.
Yona tell whole school Rockhoof is best. Now all wanna hear story.
So he's a storyteller.
I have the spell, but will you please reconsider?
Yep.
Rockhoof?
The Ursa Major tried to grab me.
He just can't really be inside.
She had me cornered, so I look at her, she looks at me. And I say, sorry, you won't be having any dinner tonight, lass. Guess you'll just have to grin and bear it.
Nice line.
Then I tossed her away with my shovel high into the sky. And she's been a constellation up there ever since.
Holy shit.
So I'm told. And that's the end of my story.
I imagine she crashed down eventually, but
Thank you for listening, but
that's a
time to say
good
goodbye.
story.
Wait, you said there wasn't anything in this time you were good at. What about telling stories?
Well, yeah, obviously.
It was just a tall tale.
One that captured the hearts and imagination of.
And I doubt it's really a tall tale. It's probably definitely based on some real.
As the Princess of Friendship, I'd like to appoint you as Equestria's official keeper of tales.
That's actually a real thing.
Can you do that?
Yeah. I mean, what's it called? A chronicler. He's a chronicler.
But I still think these old bones are more suited to a museum display.
You are a living record of our history. Your stories
Work in the
will
museum
inspire and teach generations
as
to come.
someone who tells the story of everything.
All lost.
But will I ever really belong in your world?
Rockhoof Yona's friend, so Rockhoof belongs.
You know, that reminds me of another story.
Go for it.
Once there was a small yak that knew more than a great hero.
Hey, don't forget the dragons in this one.
Aww.
With dragons and
So he's Equestria's chronicler. I love that.
Plus a changeling and a griffin.
He's gonna have so many stories from the modern world. Wow. All right. This was a good episode. Just gonna say that right now. This was a damn good episode. I don't I get. How can I put this? There are a lot of people who haven't been liking Season 8. And as far as I'm concerned, those are just people who don't want the show to change from what it once was. They're in the same boat as the people who didn't leave the fandom, but they kind of sectioned themselves off after Twilight got her wings. Just in a bit of denial that things can change and evolve and that is good. And that's all I'm going to really say on it. I think I get the reasons why they would do that, but I think it's healthier to just accept that things can change and just accept that that's a good thing and that just by changing, like, the changes can be good. In this case, I definitely think they're good. I don't know if they've done necessarily everything that they need to do with this school, or that they can do with this school concept, but they do have another season left to go, and they are still kind of picking up the pieces from Season 7, which I still think Season 7 was not that great of a season when it came to, just a lot of things in Season 7. I just feel like Season 7 had a great concept that was not executed very well. Partially because, like this season, Season 7 was kind of picking up some of the pieces from Season 6. I think this season did a bit better, especially since it had the movie as a bit of a buffer. But, yeah. Regardless of that, though, a lot of things kind of came together in this episode. We had the school, we had the pillars, and it was just all really worked pretty well. The opening was a little bit slow, I'll admit that. And I did kind of see, number one, I think that if Rockhoof's not going to do it, Miss May needs to visit the school and take care of some of the overgrown shrubbery there. Because it felt a little bit weird to, it feels a little bit weird to me in hindsight that they spent actually a good amount of time focusing on how Rockhoof just kind of kept bumping into things. But I suppose that was just another way of showing how he literally doesn't fit in there. Which is kind of a cool little detail to put in. But, I mean, just the fact that he has a shovel and gardening just does seem kind of like a more natural fit to him, but whatever. Him as a chronicler and a storyteller is something that I really enjoy. Now that word, chronicler, I got from my days in the Bionicle fandom, which back then wasn't really much of a fandom for me, because, back then I wasn't on the internet quite as much. So, me and my friends all really, me and some of my friends, I suppose, one that I can remember, whatever. I shared my love of Bionicles with the people who also love Bionicles, and yeah. Anyways, beyond that, Bionicle is, the chronicler is a very important part of Bionicle, because Bionicle is all about these stories, these legends, words, speaking isn't working right now. I would not make a great chronicler. I am very bad at telling stories. I'm great at remembering them. I'm bad at telling them out loud. So I suppose I'd have to write them down or record them in some other way, which I suppose would also make me a good, decent chronicler, but at least in the Bionicle world, the stories are always told orally. Anyways, but yes, in Bionicle, chroniclers are very important. The franchise kind of revolved around telling those stories, and there was always a sense that somebody somewhere was telling the story that the audience was experiencing to the audience. It wasn't just a case of, we're there seeing it now. It's a case of, it happened a long time ago, and now somebody is passing the story down to us. And that happens in-universe sometimes too, which is just really cool. And one of the earliest chroniclers in the story that we know about is Matoro, I think. Maybe? Kind of? Was it Matoro? I feel like it was Matoro. Yes, it was Matoro. Matoro was a chronicler until he got called on to do a different job, to be a translator, I think, was what it was. And then... No, it wasn't Matoro. God damn it. I was getting things confused. It was Takua. Takua was a chronicler until he became a Toa, a hero, in which case the job then passed on to, I think, Holly was her name? And she was a chronicler until, once again, she became a hero, a Toa. And from there, it passed on to... I don't remember. It was an Ice Matoran, but I don't remember what the hell that one's name was. Nope. Maybe it started with a okay? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Point is that the chronicler's job is to record stories and tell stories and make sure that history gets passed down. And to have that job go to Rockhoof, who experienced a lot of that history firsthand, is pretty cool. And it also makes sense because now he, as part of his job, he has to get caught up on the last 1,000 years worth of stories, which will enable him to fit in even better. I do think that ultimately a job like that would end up with him basically being a tour guide in a museum, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it is really, really cool. Especially since Rockhoof's story was one of the better told ones from Season 7. I mean, whatever. There is also the fact that all of Rockhoof's stories seem to revolve around tall tales, when you think about it. Because, like, him just somehow becoming this bigger pony after being tiny, it doesn't seem like it's something that's meant to be taken literally, and yet it apparently was something that was literal. I do remember back when the stories of the legends first aired, Campfire Tales episode. Back when that first aired, I thought that the stories were all fictional in universe, and that all of the legends didn't actually exist. So when they came back, it does seem kind of weird that Rockhoof is this pony who was once tiny and is now big, and that how does that happen? And there was no explanation for it. So, yeah, kind of interesting. Anyways, I'd like to move on now from Rockhoof simply because I feel like, as cool as it all was, it's honestly one of the lesser interesting parts of this episode. Because we got to see all of the other pillars except for Star Swirl, and we even got an update on Stygian. And I'll start with that one. So Stygian is now a writer, which, I mean, pretty typical thing in fiction. A person with a dark and troubled past then turns their past into a book series that makes them a lot of money and whatnot. I would have preferred to see Stygian himself before that happened, but it is pretty cool. I'm glad Stygian has found his place, because he's a pony who he does kind of deserve that peace that comes with finding your place. And it's also good that we now know that since he's an author, like, Equestria has another author out there besides, like, A.K.A. Yearling and whatnot. So that's pretty cool. And who writes the Shadow Spade books? I feel like that was mentioned in episode 19, but I can't really remember. Whatever. Or was it episode 17? The End and Friend episode there. Yeah, 17. Not 19. 19 was Star Treks. Whatever. So yeah, the pillars in this episode. We got to see 4 pillars besides Rockhoof. And they were all doing pretty well for themselves. Flash Magnus became basically leader of Celestia's Royal Guard. That's a great place for him. And Mist Mane, Gardener for the Crystal Empire. I really like that as well. Then Somnambula's... Honestly, I feel like I do like that one the least, simply because it just feels a little bit odd. It kind of feels like the writers were like, well, what do we have Somnambula do? And they're just kind of looking at each other like, I don't know. She could be a motivational speaker. There we go. That's it. I honestly feel like it would have been better if she was teaching some kind of yoga class or whatever, but, you know, I mean, that was a pretty decently taught thing. I might actually try and use that later. Put all the negativity into one cloud and then just let it float away and then breathe out and be peaceful. You know, see what that happens there. But, I did like seeing her again, though, especially since she's back in her old village. And Meadowbrook, who has apparently revitalized her own old village. And we got to see Cattails there helping her out. I have to wonder how weird that is, because Miss Main looks younger than him. So how weird must it be for him to have like his great times 1,000 grandmother right there, or aunt, whatever, right there with him, and he's helping her out, and he's just like, dang, I'm older than she is, what the hell? You know? It just seems like it would be a very weird for him. Like, none of the other pillars really seem to have descendants, so, yeah, just seems a bit odd, and, I'd like to know, a bit more about that situation and how weird it is. But I think the one that's the most relevant in the long term is probably Flash Magnus's. Because, spoiler for the finale, I saw a thumbnail which basically showed Cozy Glow, since she's the bad guy, surrounded by royal guards, which is interesting because, the royal guards have never been competent in the past. But with Flash Magnus training them, it seems like, they might once again become more competent. And this actually is something that I have to put in here because very recently Josh Scorcher, or Firebrand, whatever you want to call him, put out a review of, what was it? Not to change Changeling. The Times They Are a Changeling, in which he talked about how the Crystal Empire guards seem more competent than the Canterlot guards, and there actually is a reason for that. Simply put, 1,000 years ago, or more, ponies were not as used to the dangers that are present in Equestria as they are now. 1,000+ years ago, those dangers would have seemed fresh and new, and things that they have to constantly keep their heads on swivel, constantly be aware of the danger, constantly on the lookout for it. And so when it came, they were expecting it, they could deal with it easily. The Crystal Empire, having been gone for 1,000 years, when the guards came back, that's exactly how they would be acting. And so they are, more capable than the Canterlot guards. Now that Flash Magnus is back, and Flash Magnus would be someone who is also that way, if he gets put in charge of Canterlot's military, basically, of course he would have them acting that way. And of course he would have them acting like a real military a lot sooner than someone like Shining Armor would be, who also grew up in that complacency. I think the best example of it, it was in Ponyville, but the Bugbear attack, nobody in town was really fazed by that. They were just like, okay, there's a Bugbear, we're going to avoid it, let the main six deal with it. And nobody even really looked at the fight except to place bets on it, more or less. That 1,000 years ago, though, those ponies would just be like, "Oh my God, a Bugbear! We have to get the whole military in here and deal with it right freaking now." And even earlier in the series, it was kind of the same way. Like when Spike turned gigantic and turned into a monster, like the Wonderbolts got called in, but I don't really remember ponies panicking, and I'm going to go back and actually check on that. Season 2, was it? Let's see. The Secret of My Excess. Yep. Going to pull up the episode. Going to look at it and see around what minute mark would it be. Let's see. We got Rainbow laughing at... okay, they were trying to corral Spike. Let's see. Nope. No. Well. No. Nope. 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 Not yet. Nope. Okay, so... Let's see. Sorry, I might cut this all out in editing. But... that picture, I forgot how funny the episode was. I'm looking at Pinkie Pie being dragged around after seeing all of her cake smashed. Okay, but so far, Rarity is the only one who really seems to just panic at the sight of Spike. Let's see, there's the alarm going off, which Spike smashes. Okay, yeah, never mind. Ponies were panicking at that point. But then again, it's not every day that you see an absolutely gigantic Godzilla dragon just come right into the middle of town out of basically nowhere. So, I guess. And they're like I think the only time previous to that we really saw a large number of ponies panicking was the Ursa Major, which again, not a really common danger, I guess. I don't know. It just seems to make more sense to me that 1,000 years ago, danger was much more present, and it was a thing that the ponies were more aware of. Whereas nowadays, they've kind of grown complacent, and so the military is just less capable of dealing with those threats, in a way. This might trigger a few people, but in all honesty, before 9/11, the United States military was not really on top of... Well, not just the military, but United States security was not as on top of things. They weren't... think about it. If there was something in place to monitor security on airlines before 9/11, we would have probably caught that, and we wouldn't have had as much of an issue. I'm just putting that out there. But you have to imagine that back when airplanes first came around, at the time there were relatively strict security measures because, this is a new thing. You got to stay on top of it. You got to make sure people aren't messing up and screwing around with it. But then over time, people got more complacent, and they were just like, it's fine. We know these things are safe now. Why would anybody actually sabotage one? And then something bad happens, so we kind of react to that. It's kind of like, you put up stop signs or yield signs at an intersection, and that seems to be working fine up until somebody has a fucking traffic accident, and then you have to put in the stoplights. Just the old has to get replaced by the new, except it's the same as the old, it's just different enough that people actually take notice. I don't know, I'm talking in circles once again. But yeah, it does seem like Flash Magnus's thing is going to be relevant to the finale. I'm actually glad I did see that one, except for the part about Cozy Glow. Just because I'm glad to know that part is important. I'm interested to know what other parts might be important. I have to wonder if a story that Rockhoof tells might actually inspire Cozy Glow in the wrong way. Maybe that's why she's the villain. I don't know. I don't understand why Cozy Glow is going to be the villain. I don't really understand how that's going to work, but it is what it is. I'll find out when it happens. As for this episode, in conclusion, yeah, I really liked this episode. I liked seeing where all the pillars are now. I liked just having this extended conflict with one of them not fitting in, because, it's highly improbable that among basically 7 ponies from the ancient world, not one of them is going to have problems adjusting. Obviously, one of them is. And one of them did, and we got this episode, and it was a good episode. I liked Rockhoof's stories. There were some genuinely funny moments. There was some really just... Yona is, I think, the most innocent, somehow, of the Student 6. Smolder and Gallus are just so... they're the bad boys, I guess, of the group, is what I want to say. And then, Acellus and Silverstream are the more optimistic ones, but they're also aware of how bad things can get. And then you got frickin' Turtle High Man there, I don't know, Sandbar. And he's just... I I don't really know. I don't really like Sandbar, if I'm honest. He's just so boring compared to the rest. They don't really do anything to make me like him all that much. But Yona is just so earnest and genuine and nice. It's hard not to love her, and just when, at least it is for me anyways, there are some people who, like I said, they're bitter about Season 8 in general, and they, take it out on Yona and all the other new characters. But I really like Yona, and from what I've seen, most of the reactors at least, really do seem to like Yona and her character. And here, she was, like, that was just heart-melting. Just her essay about Rockhoof and what it meant. Like, even just seeing his reactions to it was just so warm and fuzzy. Like, that's I think what this episode ultimately is. This is a warm and fuzzy type of episode, and I very much appreciate that. I don't always enjoy fluff stories, but this is the type of thing that if I saw it in a fanfic, that would be saved to my favorites folder. It would be upvoted, commented on. It would just be amazing. And to have it in an actual episode is honestly better even than that, because it's canon. So, yes, I really, really enjoy this episode. I don't know if it's like a new favorite of the season, just because last week's episode was just like, honestly, comparing this week's episode to last week's episode is just not fair. Like, this week's episode was all about relatively new characters getting development and just being awesome, while last week's episode was more of a long-standing thing coming to fruition, a character that had been absent for a long time coming back, and just, yeah, I don't think it's quite fair to compare them. To ask me which one I'd rather watch again, I'd probably say last week's episode. This week's episode was good, but I don't think it had as much just pure entertainment as last week's episode did. So, last week's episode is probably still my favorite of the season so far. Yeah. But this week's episode was still very good and very high up on the list. I really need to actually make that list, because I haven't been making that list for this season. Yeah, I don't even have a list started. So, I think actually that's what I'm going to do after I sign off here, which I'm going to do right now. See y'all next week!